This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Now, I don't know whether this is a shot or exactly what it is. I like that rock and roll stuff. It's the old-timer part that I'm a little leery about. Our producer, Dwayne Bishop, having some fun on Boomer Life today, as on this episode of the program, we talk retirement living, and our guests are from Revera Retirement Living. Carrie Jackson is Regional Director of Operations for BC and all 9 Revera communities. And with us also in studio from Revera Ottawa is Carole Desjardins, and also joining us from Crofton Manor is Janice Correa, who is one of Revera's newest lifestyle consultants. But even only a few short weeks on the job, Janice, you're starting to see people coming to Crofton Manor. When people come and when we boomers come in to investigate retirement living on behalf of our parents, or have I got that right? Is it usually the kids who come? No, kids. We're boomers. We're more than 40, but we're still somebody's kids. That's the best part about being on Boomer Life. We are somebody's kids, so we get to refer to ourselves as kids.
That's
so
true.
when we kids show up at Crofton, are we usually by ourselves, Janice, or do Mom and Dad come with us?
Well, what I've seen in my short time with Crofton, I've had a variety of different tours that I've done. So a tour would be someone coming in to get a bit more information about the community that we have. A lot of times, if the family is doing their due diligence and checking out several communities, which we encourage that they do because we all have something different to offer, it's usually the kids first. Because it might be too tiring for the parents to go from home to home.
Right.
Once they narrow it down to 2 or 3, then they'll bring the parents in.
So it's kind of a homework mission in some cases for boomers, just educating themselves before approaching mom or dad.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And then going back to what we were talking about with communities changing so much in the last 50 years, that it's it's a real learning expedition for them as well. They're amazed at the calendar that we put out with the amount of activities that we have on a daily basis. So whether it be exercise or entertainment or maybe guest speakers that we have come in, all that kind of stuff is new to them. So that's what we do, is we bring them in on a tour and expose them to all of that.
All right. Now, Carole, you do the exact same job as Janice does, and you're helping train Janice here in Vancouver.
Yes.
But when you sit in your office in Ottawa and people come to see you, and suppose now, as has been the case Janice has described, a couple of boomer kids show up, and mom is along for the ride, and mom ain't impressed. In fact, mom's really not having a very good day at all, because this is not really her cup of tea. Now, you've had this in your office. How do you handle that dynamic when there are 2 well-intended boomer kids and a slightly distressed mom?
Well, what I've seen often is as kids, well, I'm one of those 2. My mom is 86, my dad 90. And what I see is the kids coming in and starting to talk about mom as if she was not there.
Right, I know. How rude is that?
Well, mom is really not cooking, and mom this, mom that. And basically how I handle that is that I will sit next or in front of the mom and look at her in her eyes and saying, "You're not happy, are you? You don't want to be here." And she'll just nod her head, and her arms are still crossed, and I will just say, "You know what? This is really just to show you what we're all about, but it's about you.
You won't be left behind.
Exactly.
You get to leave when your children leave."
Yes, and I will end the conversation saying, at the end of the day, it is your decision.
Good for you.
You are in control.
Right.
And when I say this to them, I can see a smile in their eyes or a smile in their face. And they realize that we're not here to lock them up and throw the key away, or that we're really paying attention. And I think all of our Revera homes have that key thing, is that we talk to the prospect, we call it in our language, but the client themselves.
Right.
The kids are important for general information, but we make it all about the client themselves. So that is very important. Actually, I just met on Monday, I met a lady at Crofton, and she told me, she says, you know, Carol, I came here screaming and kicking, and I was so angry at my kids. I didn't want to talk to them anymore. I told them I was going to change my will, and then with a big breath, she says, but you know what? This is the best thing that could ever have happened to me.
So she turns out to be in the 97% who are going to, at the end of this year, when you all do the survey again, she's going to jump in there and click, yep, the only regret is I should have moved here earlier.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And realized from very small things, like I didn't realize I had gathered so many things in my house.
Right, right.
How much things I had to get rid of because I didn't really need all of that. I didn't use it half the time.
And yet that is used, and Janice, if you haven't heard it yet, you will more than once. That is used as a major obstacle. Well, I couldn't possibly part with my stuff. It's taken a lifetime to accumulate. What am I, crazy here? So so there's a whole process of downsizing and discussing priorities but you know, I think the key here that you've identified, Carol, and brilliantly, is the fact that even though we mean well, we boomer kids, it's not about us.
No.
We're not moving to a Revera community. Mom or dad is, and they're not an inanimate object. They're a person who need to make the call for themselves.
Exactly right. It's just like someone losing their driver's license. For them, it's like losing both of their legs. It's that tragic to them. So we have to really pay attention to that and just admit to them, I understand, I know what that means to you, and here is how we can do this. This same lady, I was saying to her, and she said, oh, I had to give up a lot of my paintings and needle points I had made over the years.
Right.
And we just gave everything to Sally Ann, I think she said. And I just went back to sitting next to her, and I looked at her and I said, you know what, but that is such a gracious thing to do.
Absolutely.
And she looked at me wondering, why are you saying this? I said, you know what, the nice things that you did do for yourself, someone else is actually going into that Sally Ann, picking that item because they just love it.
Sure.
And a new love for the article will be born again.
Right. And
so it's not discarded.
And it'll also be affordable because it's at the Sally Ann.
Absolutely.
Carrie, I wanted to ask you, what happens, because we've involved the families now, both Janice and Carol have talked about how it's usually a combination of boomer kids and the seniors themselves who come. So once, and we've talked a little bit about how the assessment, the welcoming program works out, but what happens once the mom or the dad has become a member of a Revera community, and everybody's finally settling down and, whew, okay, this is working. And then for some reason, things kind of go sideways. And the mom she doesn't come down for meals anymore. And she's kind of sticking to herself in her room and doesn't come out to play cards the way she used to like to. And something's wrong. How do you find out about that? And how does the family find out?
Well, again, it's a team effort. So, you know, the process starts with our lifestyle consultants, but once they're part of our community, we have a full team. So right from our executive director down to our front line, and you know, it's about the communication. So we have, whether they're in care, the care aides that provide one-to-one care for that resident will be reporting to the nurse, who then reports up to the executive director. Or, you know, the nurse reports directly to the family. Could be as simple as the housekeeper noticing that there's been some changes with the way that the suite's being kept. Or our recreation director and our recreation aides noticing that, you know, mom isn't coming out. We do take attendance. We monitor those sorts of things, so that way we can quickly identify when there's changes, positive or negative.
Sure.
And, you know, now in today's age, you know, whether it's a quick email to the family, to the daughter, or, you know, you pick up the phone, it doesn't always have to be a scheduled in-person meeting.
Right.
We do have those. Those, you know, happen, you know, as often as the family wishes, but it sometimes isn't necessary to go to that extent. A quick email keeps everyone informed, and then, you know, when the daughter or the son come in to visit, we'll pull them aside and have that quick conversation and and quickly try to identify what's happened, what's changed. And many times it's something even outside of our home.
Of course.
You know, there's been
something's weighing
something
on their
happened
mind
with their family,
or something.
or
Sure.
a grandchild has fallen ill. I
Right.
mean, it doesn't, it's not always about us, but we're there to support that person.
And I suppose, Carol, the point here is that everyone in the community that's on the Revera team is literally a teammate of each other and working to the benefit of everyone who lives there. So if it's a housekeeping person who notices, geez, Mr. Smith is it's not the same as it usually is, I better bring this to somebody's attention. The team works together behind the scenes, communicating with each other about how everyone is doing. And if there's a red flag, the family gets brought in real fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We call the family, we request for a meeting. Either, depending on what the situation is, we might involve mom and dad, or we might not, depending how the head nurse would see the situation. We'll have a meeting. We will discuss all of the changes, what we've noticed, what needs to be maybe the next step, and then get basically a yes or a no from the family of what they would like the next step to be.
Well,
so they're always involved.
Yeah, I think it's important, just as we go to break here, but I think it's important that you understand, that people listening to us understand, Carrie, that, you know, just because mom has gone to a retirement community doesn't mean she's out of your life. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. Your life, and certainly hers, are probably enhanced enormously by this smart move. So it's to the betterment of all, but she's not also so far out of your life that if something goes a little weird, you're going to get a phone call right away. You're going to be in the loop at all times.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll take a quick break because otherwise Dwayne's going to have kittens, and I fear what music we're going to come back with after this quick timeout on CIL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.